Hey everyone, it's Nikki, and welcome back to another Furry review. Today I'm going to be talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the game, not the movie coming out next year. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was created by Sega and Sonic Team. It is a 2D platformer, and it was released November 21st, 1992. Like the previous game, Sonic 2 follows Sonic the Hedgehog, along with his new friend Tails, as they battle against Dr. Eggman and try to prevent him from taking the now 7, as opposed to 6, Chaos Emeralds, all the while freeing animals from Eggman's robotic clutches. This is not a very plot-heavy game. It is definitely a platformer with an emphasis on the platforming. So before I start talking about the technical elements of this game, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite parts of it. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that Tails, who is a kind of secondary non-playable character if you're playing alone or your brother or sister playing alongside you back in the 90s, he's actually pretty helpful sometimes. Sometimes as he's flying around while you're running through the course, he can be knocking out enemies or pulling on levers that help you get through certain areas. Some of the new enemies in this game have some really interesting mechanics and patterns that are really interesting and just more complex than walking back and forth or occasionally shooting projectiles at you. So I really appreciated the variety of enemies in this game. And this is just a shout out to Chemical Plant Zone. Chemical Plant Zone is by far my favorite part of this game, my favorite zone in this game. It just has some really, beautiful scenery and some really fun mechanics. There's this one thing where you enter a tube and you just go really fast like a hamster tube throughout the whole zone, and it's just really fun. I like how Aquatic Ruin Zone gives you several different paths that allow you to make it a water level if you want, or to make it a completely on-land level, or to have a cool mixture of both paths. I just really thought the design of those levels were interesting. And I often found myself taking the water level route, even though it was a bit more stressful at times. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that the Mystic Cave Zone has some absolutely beautiful imagery and some kind of cool enemies. It's definitely, in terms of visuals, my favorite of all the zones. I still like Chemical Plant Zone's mechanics better, but I did really like Mystic Cave Zone as well. Alright, that's kind of a short list, I do realize. A lot of the things that I liked about the first game, like the sprites and the music and stuff, which I'll get into later, are also present in this game, so I didn't want to be super repetitive if you've already watched the other video I did on the original Sonic the Hedgehog game. But basically all of the pros, all of the good stuff I loved about that game was also in this game, and I also loved it. Alright, now getting on to the technical elements of this game, which include the storytelling, the art style and character design, the setting and world building, the gameplay, and the music. Storytelling. Like the previous game, the storytelling is pretty bare bones. It's probably mostly in the game manual, which I do not have access to, but it's really a platforming game that is just, I wouldn't say it's an excuse plot, but it's not really super interested in the backstory surrounding these characters and their relationships, as well as their antagonism towards Dr. Eggman. The storytelling is not really huge in this one, just like how it was in the first game. Art style and character design. Similar to the first game, the art is beautiful. I would go so far as to say that the art in this game is better than the first game, which the first game looked pretty nice, but just some of the background art and enemies and sprites look really good in this game. Sonic and Eggman look basically the same as they did in the original game, but I can tell that there was, I don't want to say slightly more advanced technology by the time this game came out. I don't know, it came out a year after the first one, so it's not like the industry just fundamentally changed, but it just seems like there's more detail and more attention to smaller aspects of the pixel art. So I really love the art in this game. And like with the last game, the character animations, the enemy animations, all that stuff looks really good. I especially like Tails' flight animation. It's so simple, just the way they animate his tails looking like helicopter blades, but it's really effective. And it just goes to show, just because something isn't super complicated or super smooth, that it can still be really effective in terms of conveying movement and character and all that kind of stuff. Setting and world building. Along with the story, the world building in this game is pretty bare bones, just like the previous one. There are now 7 Chaos Emeralds instead of 6. We still don't really know quite what the Chaos Emeralds are all about, except now we do know that if you collect all 7 of them, you can make Sonic go supersonic. Why? Who knows? But that will come in the subsequent games. Despite the world building being basically on the same level as the game, I really liked some of the different settings we see in this game. Like I mentioned, I just love the chemical plant zone. I love the mystic cave zone. I love the aquatic ruins, and even some of the other levels that I'm not as into. I still think that they had a lot of thought and cool design components put into them. Gameplay. So I do think that this game is harder than the original Sonic game, not by like a huge margin, but I think that it is a little bit more difficult, mostly in fun ways. The zones are definitely a step up from the original game. They have a lot more branching paths and cool mechanics like levers and sliding doors and stuff that were kind of present in the first game, but not nearly to the extent that they're utilized in this game. And it just makes getting through each level a lot more fun because there are so many different paths you can take. I also think that the spin dash absolutely rocks. Oh my god, playing the original game without the spin dash makes me like cry sometimes. It's just so nice having it in Sonic 2, but it can be a little bit unpredictable. For instance, you can spin dash through enemies, but sometimes it seems like my spin dash would wear out right as I hit an enemy, and it was just very annoying when that would happen. Maybe I was doing something wrong and it was like stopping it prematurely, but it is a little bit unpredictable, which can be a little bit frustrating. I will say the special stages in this game suck, or at least I suck at them. Maybe they're not like irredeemable, but I hate them. It's just like you're in this half pipe situation with Sonic and then Tails behind you. If you're playing with somebody else, someone that can actually control Tails, but if you're just playing by yourself, like he kind of just follows Sonic with an AI, and you're basically trying to collect all these rings, and you have to be so precise about it, and it's just, I never made it through all of them. I never went supersonic. I'm ashamed to Hedgehog kind. I found them super difficult, super annoying. Maybe it's because I was playing on my computer as opposed to a Genesis or other console, but they were really not a highlight for me, I must say. Speaking of difficult, but not in a bad way, there's the final boss, which it's kind of like a 2-part stage where you don't get any rings and you just gotta beat these enemies. And it's pretty brutal, but it is possible, especially once you get the patterns and like rhythm of everything down. First you tackle battering Silver Sonic, or Mecha Sonic, I believe his name is. Mecha Sonic, that sounds right. Silver Sonic, I think, was another robotic version of Sonic, but not Metal Sonic. Don't get them confused. The first you battle him, and then you battle Eggman in this big egg tank thing. I forget what it's called. That part was actually pretty easy. It was freaking Mecha Sonic that got my ass every time because I would forget his pattern and just jump right into him like an idiot, and then die because I didn't have any rings. All of this is to say that I think the gameplay, for the most part, is an improvement upon the first game. It's a little bit harder, but it's like fun hard. It's not like hard, except for the special stages, in my opinion. And I really enjoy that development from the first game, especially as I have gotten better at playing these kinds of games. Music. Like the first game, the music in this game is great. It's iconic, and I have a hill that I will die on, and that is that the theme for Emerald Hill Zone is better than Green Hill Zone. Yeah, I went there. When that freaking soundbite played in the teaser for Sonic 2, everyone lost their shit. You know, it's a more fun song. I don't know what to say. It's like, it's a bop. Green Hill Zone's like cool and all, but Emerald Hill Zone's where it's at. I will say, and maybe this is part of the reason I hated, or at least was bad at the special stages, the special stages music was very annoying. Or at least, it annoyed me because I was repeating the damn level so many times. It got on my nerves. I didn't really care for it. It's this really weird, I mean, it's all techno or like 8-bit electronic music because of the era, but I don't know how to describe it. I did not care for it. All the other music in the game I really enjoyed, but the special stages were annoying. Well, they were kind of weird and annoying in the first game too, so maybe that's just par for the course. So before I wrap this review up, I wanted to think about what comparisons that this game might have with other media. The only thing I could really think of, I mean, it's a 2D platformer. There's a lot of games that are similar to this, and there's a lot of games that came out before it that were in a similar vein. But in terms of like the kind of 2-player platforming system, the only thing I could really think of, like right off the top of my head that was around this era especially, was Mario. You had Mario and Luigi play 2-player, and it was a platforming series. It's a little bit more cooperative, I think, than this game is. This game you have to obviously be able to play by yourself, with Tails as kind of an AI, so he's not really doing a whole lot, but I'm sure if I had a sibling to commandeer and make play as Tails, it would be a really fun game to play with somebody because Tails is basically invincible, so you can just fly around. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of comparisons. Sonic is just kind of an iconic franchise, so yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. So my final thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 are that it is a worthy sequel to the original game. I think a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for the first game because it's what started everything. It was the beginning of this 30-year-long journey. But I do think Sonic 2 is a better game. I think it has better graphics. I think it has better mechanics, more interesting enemies, interesting bosses, and just beautiful music and other elements that are on par with the original game. But because there's all this stuff that is better, it just elevates the game a little bit more than the original. I'm still playing this game because I still have not beat it. I still have not beaten the stupid special stages and gone Super Sonic, but I really enjoyed this game, and I see why it, along with just the original Sonic, has such a deep place of love for a lot of fans of this franchise. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!